All right. So welcome back, everyone. So today we are in the module number 5, and we have covered couple of things from this learning objective. I mean, we have covered the Outlook and email automation in the last session, but we'll work with Excel application today. We'll look at selector introductions. We'll look at how advanced UI interactions can be introduced. At the same time, we'll also work with data tables. Now, data tables is a really important concept. And when we work with Excel or CSV or any tabular form of data, whether it is returning from database or any other scrapping and all those things, it's really important to learn the concept of data table. So our focus today would be first is working with Excel application, and second working with data tables, and then we'll discuss the selector introduction. So that's what we are targeting for today, right? So let's quickly move to the slide and then see what we need to cover. So first thing, we need to talk about working with Excel, right? UiPath Excel automations brings you countless automation possibilities, right? No matter how small and big your automation is or your organization is, we always have some of the processes where we are reading or writing some data, right? Or we are extracting data from some other sources, right? Or we managing sheets, or we copying column values or from one application to another application. This is really a common operation that we do, right? So UiPath has provided Excel activities packages, okay, and that provides you basically all the aspects of Microsoft Excel, most of, if not all, then most of. As of now, it is an application intensely used by the many, mainly by the type of business people, right, or the operation people, right. So it contains the activity that enable you to read the information from a cell, rows, columns, range. Similarly, it allow you to write to the spreadsheet, workbooks, execute macro, or even extract information under formulas. There is a limited scope of working with you know formatting of excels, but you can do some color code and all those things. It can also help you to sort the data, merge the data, and some additional to perform some additional information. Now coming back to UiPath, potentials or capability. So UiPath has also given another set of activities which can work with Excel. So in UiPath we have two types of activities. One activity which is Microsoft Excel based. Another activity which is app integration. That's basically a programming interface. So you have a system based activity and then Excel application scope activities. What is the difference between those two? We'll discuss, right? But in this module, in particular, we are looking for following methods because there are a lot of methods available in Excel, right? And all those require some property need to be changed. So I'll be covering read, write, right? Read cell, read range, append range, and some sorting and merging. Apart from that, there are other methods. Those you need to look at yourself. So you can play around it. You can pass the properties values and it will work, right? And you can read the UiPath documentation because covering all of those methods and properties beyond the scope of this, training. It will take a lot of time, and then those are uh, not giving any real value. Okay, so let's look at the activities we have available. So you can look at these activities here, right? So we have append to these all activities requires certain properties, okay, and those properties are common, very common, right? So say for example, if you need to read a cell value, so you need to provide a cell information. If you need to read a row, you need to provide a row, which row you want to read, right? Similarly, if you want to read a range, so you need to provide a range values, right? Those kind of properties values. Okay, so we'll look some of these, right, in our working demo and working session, but all of them will not be covered. If you want to try your hands on all of these, you should try using all of these activities one by one in your laptop. Okay, and this is not a final list because UiPath comes up with the update and their release cycle. So probably they might have updated some of these activities or they might have removed some of them. So always follow the latest or latest documentation for details. Okay. Now let's look at what is other system integration. So I talked about the Excel integration in the previous slide. So activities, those were present there, are Excel based automation activities. An activity which is present in current deck or a current slide, these are system based integration. So now you will ask, what is the difference between system integration and Excel application scope, right? So the difference is pretty simple. Any RPA tool works in a way that it leverages the DLL provided by the Microsoft, right? At the bottom, at the core of these all activity, there is a C# or .NET code, which is interacting with DLL files provided by the Microsoft. So when you are directly using the Microsoft DLL or application scope, you are basically using the Excel application itself to perform those operations. But when you are using a system integration, they are nothing but a programmatic interface or API provided by the UiPath. So that's a difference, right? So if any one of you are from Python background or other programming languages, you can also having a similar scenario where you have lot many packages are available. Some of those packages are using, Excel application scope. Some of those are using system integrations, right? So that's a difference. And this is a UiPath common interview question. People will ask, what is the difference between system integration and my Excel application scope? So the first difference is the way how it interacts with the activity. Second difference is for Excel application scope to work, Excel application has to be installed on the machine where the bot has to be executed. So say for example, if you are building a code and you want to run the Excel application scope on your laptop, Excel has to be installed. But if you are using a system integration, there is a no need to install a Excel application. There are many scenarios where you don't need to perform many operation on Excel, right? So why you need a Microsoft Office license? You can use workbook activities to read the Excel file, right? So in those particular scenario, system integration is pretty useful. What is other differences? Can anyone tell me what are the other differences apart from these two? Any idea? That's correct. And we do not have option to execute macros. Macros we cannot execute using the system integration. So if you have to perform activity which contains macros and which contains some formatting options like coloring and all those things, you need to go with Excel application scope. Similarly, there are in the new UiPath, there are option to copy chart and paste chart data, and all those options are available in Excel application scope. Those are not available in system integration. So if you have to work with chart, right? So in those cases also Excel application will be used. So these are high level differences. You can read about more at the UiPath official documentation. But let's quickly move to how we can work with Excel activities first, and we'll also look at how we can work with the workbook activities. Any dots so far? Any questions you have before I move to the practical example of Excel workbook? Do you understand when system integration to be used and when Excel application scope is to be used? Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, data table supports those many records, right? So uh, there is a you can do one thing, right? I'll tell you example. So there are many use cases where you need to preserve the format of Excel application, right? Preserve the format, like you have some of the column as currency, some of the are date time format and all those things, right? You need to preserve those. So there is an option of preserve format, right? In those scenario also we need to use application Excel application scope, right? But if you do not care about the formatting, you can go with the workbook. Workbook will be always faster because the number of hoops or the numbers of nodes it need to traverse to perform some actions are less in the workbook activity. And in Excel application scope, it would be much more. And that's the reason workbook activities are faster than Excel application scope. And whenever we are reading a bulk data, I mean reading 10,000 record or 20,000 record, or such a huge amount of records, we always prefer to use read range activity from the workbook instead of Excel application scope. That's a preferred way of doing it. But it cannot work in all scenario. Reason being, it do not preserve the format. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So let's then quickly move to the UiPath Studio and discuss about Excel application scope. But before that, let's quickly review what we discussed about the data table in the last lesson. It's just a refresher, right? So in the last lesson, we also discussed about what is data table. So data table is a nothing but a tabular form of a data structure. Data table class are defined in a C# ADO.NET, right? It's a representation or a collection which stores your data in a row and column, right? So you can take example of this one. We have a tabular information where we have three columns: name, age, and working at, right? You will, and if you want to access every row in a table, right, you should be able to perform those operations easily using the for loop, right? So what I'm trying to explain you here is whenever you do certain operations with the Excel, you will end up storing the data into a data table, right? And then you need to know what all operations, what all activities are available on data table so that we can perform your additional task, right? So if you look at the left side or maybe at the right side, right, you will see there are a lot of activities which are available in UiPath, like add data column, add data row, build data table, right? And clear data table, generate data table. These all are, right. The purpose of them are pretty simple, and those can be easily, uh, you will easily get to know by looking at the name value. Say for example, clear data table. That tells you that it will clear the data table. It will remove all the row from table but preserve the column names. I mean header. The data will be only cleared, right? So those kind of thing you can easily get it. So I do not want to discuss and give theoretical details of all of these, because all of these activities contains different properties, and they require different set of informations to be passed to perform the operation. So let's quickly jump to the you know UiPath Studio. There we'll look the details of all of these things that we have talked about, right? So I'll stop my presentation and then I'll quickly go to the UiPath Studio. So not this one, this is for data table, and I have another. All right. So I'll help you to explain one by one using the example. So first thing, what we need to do here is I have an Excel file. So I'll open this just so that you can visualize what is the data there, right? So we have two worksheets here, and then we have five rows, three columns, and we have not said any or first row as a header here, so it doesn't differentiate between. So A to A5, B1 to B5, and C1 to C5. That's the data here. And then we have seat 2 A1, seat 2 A2, seat 2 A3, those kind of things. I just wanted a clear representation. That's the reason I have written the data in this form. So let's close this. Okay. Now what we need to do is first let's discuss how we can read the data using a without Excel application scope. Okay. So reading the data without using the Excel application scope is pretty simple. All you need to do is you need to use the read activity from the workbook, not from the Excel. So read cell is here also, read cell is here also, right? This is inside the UiPath Excel activity, and this is inside UiPath Excel activities, but they are grouped into the system and workbook, right? Similarly, this read range. So you need to use the one which is inside the workbook, not the one which is inside the Excel application. Okay. So once you drop it, it will ask you for the file name, which is the workbook. So I have given the file name as Excel 11 XLS. And then you need to tell what is the sheet name. So I have given the first sheet to be, or first workbook we need to read. And then in that first worksheet or workbook or sheet, whatever you call it, we need to read the value which is present at A2, right? And then I am putting a message box just to display the data which is present there. Similarly, I'll use a read range. Read cell will read a singular data, a cell value from spreadsheet, and it will return values as a string. Read range will again read a data on the basis of range you have provided, and it will return data table. If you do not pass any range here, it is blank. By default, it will read all the data. Okay. So that's the difference between read cell and read range. And once you read the range, you need to specify the detail into a data table. I shown you in the last lesson as well. So I have created a variable here. That variable is of type data table, right? System.data.data table. So read cell, read range, and then for loop. And in the for loop, it will read the data line by line. One important property that I wanted to highlight you here is add header and options and preserve format. And that's what the option I was talking about, right? Add header, when you tick on this, that means it will take care automatically and process the first row as a header, and they'll become title, right? When reading the data. If you do not select this one, everything inside the workbook or worksheet will be read as data only, no headers. Okay, so let's quickly look at run this example. Okay, so let's I'll put the debug value here so that you will get to know how it is coming. So let me toggle a breakpoint. So I have toggled a breakpoint. So execution will come here and it will stop for me to perform certain operations. So let's debug the current file. So now it is here. The execution at here is a path execution and reading the A2 values because we are reading the data from A2 cell. So the value is A2. I press OK, it will move to the next point, right? Now it has read the range and whatever the data we have from A1 to C4, it has, and it has returned the data table. If you look at here, it has returned the data table. Can you see this? So this is a data table, right? And sheet name is the one that we have provided and the range that we have provided. Now the data which is available into the Excel file is present into this particular data table variable, and we need to do a loop over it. Okay, so for each row in this data table, how many number of rows are there, right? So you can probably also look at the detailed information here. So if you look at data view. Here you can see it will provide you how many counts and all those things, how many rows, and various options are there. So we'll discuss these more detail, because when we perform some link query operation, we need to use these properties. Okay, so step into, and then step into, it will print the value which is skipping header, and header, and it will print 2. Why it has printed 2 or A2, right? The reason being, we have in the read range, we have that add header values are selected. And similarly, whatever you want to perform operation on that particular value, right here, using the each row dot item, you should be able to get it. So column 1 is 0, column 2 is 1, column 3 is 2, and so on and so forth. This way you should be able to read the entire data table. Any doubt here?
So this I have one doubt. Suppose I have a workbook and worksheet name is not sheet one, and that workbook gets generated during the process, and I can get any name instead of sheet one. So what should I do that it should always read data from first sheet irrespective of the name? Let the name of sheet one be January, sheet two February, or let the name of sheet one be Monday, sheet two Tuesday. I want to go and read data always from sheet one.
Okay. There are multiple ways of doing it, right? So the one thing that you could do is you can create a variable here and assign that variable value. Okay. So let me stop it. And what you can do is you can create a variable called sheet name. Okay. And then you can pass this and before reading this, you can assign some value to it. And as it will be dynamic, so what you can do is you can create a logic here so that sheet name contains the first name always. Okay, so for the example, you are saying that I need to read the from month's name, right? January, February, and all those things. So in those scenario, what we do, we create a a list variable called name of months, right? Okay, and we always assign what we do. So we have a list of months, say for example, like this list of months. Okay, and the list of month, we know that I need to read the first month, so I'll put 0 and then 2 string, so it will always get the first month as a value, and it will be assigned to sheet name. And then in the next step, the sheet name will be replaced by the first value from list of month. You got my point?
Yes, sir, but possibility is there. Either it will be in month's name or it will be in week's name.
See, I'll tell you. Yeah, see, I'll tell you. UiPath doesn't know where it has to start, right? UiPath doesn't know it. So you need to tell them. You need to tell UiPath that this is my first instance which I need to read. So there must be some logic, right? So that logic has to be written somewhere, either in a config file, either into config variable, either into some programming construct or loop or whatsoever. But you need to specifically tell UiPath that go and read this particular sheet.
Like to read column, we have option that we
No,
can give index
we don't have those options here. So if you look at the options here, it always asks for a sheet name. Input is always a string. No numeric value could be provided. Yeah. If you have got my point, look at the property that I have highlighted here. So it's an in argument. What is the type of argument? Type of argument is a string. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's the problem. So you need to tell them. Uh, you can create a list variable. You can store all those possible values, and then from that possible value, assign that value to the read cell or read range, whatever you do want to do. All right. So this is how we can do without Excel application scope. Let's talk about Excel application scope. So Excel application scope is, I told you, for performing that, the first thing that you need to bring is Excel application scope. So that will become as a container. So this one you need to bring. And all the tasks that you need to perform for that particular workbook or work path, those has to go inside this do block. Why it is so? Reason being, in your automation, you can work on multiple Excel file, right? For UiPath to work, it has to identify that Excel file with some identifier. So whenever we use Excel application scope, we use output as a workbook and we'll say workbook 1, right? And then if I need to perform, it's looking for a path, and that's the reason it's showing a red. So let's put this like this one, and then let's do another Excel application scope here, and there here I want to remove this Excel file, and I'll give the path to workbook is my workbook 2, right? So this way your UiPath should be able to work on this Excel file and this Excel file without interfering, because you need to specify that using a identifier through which it can establish a connection to Excel file and perform required operations. And why this is required? Reason being, when you perform all of your operations, you need to close the workbook. Otherwise, there might be a problem when next time you read it, or there could be a chance of accidental damage of a file. So whenever you perform the activities, at the end of your operation, you should close workbook. So here I'll look at the close workbook. Close workbook. And then it's required, sir. My workbook name will need to be closed. Right? Similarly, you can put a here and you can put a closed workbook, which is 2. You got my point? Why we need to put close workbook?
Yes.
Right. And this is really, really important. I have seen, multiple scenario when RPA developer started working, and then when they perform the operation in Studio, Excel is working perfectly. But when they move their code into UAT and production, bot is failing due to my Excel application scope throwing HR result error. Some people suggest we should put a delay between the different activities because UiPath performs faster in production execution environment. But one of the best practices that I say is you should always close a workbook to avoid memory leakage. And also, keeping because you must have faced issues where you have multiple Excel open at your system, and you try to do some operation on one Excel book and it start not responding, right? Similar thing could happen when you are performing tasks in UiPath, right? To avoid such scenario, we should close workbook, and also whenever we perform some read and write operation, always after the write operation give some delay. right? Okay, so this is how we need to use that cell application scope and then close it. So I'll delete these two. Right, again for reading a cell, the same thing that what we have used in Excel application scope, provide the sheet name and then cell value. And for read range, again the similar thing, you need to provide a range, or if you left it blank, entire file will be, you know, put into a data table. And once you receive a data table, which is Excel read data table, you can loop over it, right? And then print the values. Okay. So here, the read range, I have selected add headers. Checkbox is checked. And in this read range, I have not selected add header, checkbox as checked. So when I read the data here, sorry, this one, it will read the data and it will mark the first row as title or columns, right? When I read the data here, it will not perform, that operation, because I have not told UiPath to perform, you know, special instructions for the first row. Got my point? So this way we should be able to read it. And at the end, when the operation is done, close workbook will be required. Let me ask you one question. What will happen if Excel application is Excel file is already open? Let's take example of this one. Okay. So I have opened the Excel file myself manually, right? And when I run this automation or workbook, what will happen? Will it throw an error or will it run? What would be the error?
Error is Excel file is opening.
Excel with, and why so?
Because we are working on this Excel, no? So
yeah,
that's why.
So I'll tell you why. The reason being, UiPath attaches the process, Excel processes, right? There will be a process name, which is Excel process, which is running in on this system, right? And it reads the process properties. So it will say this Excel is already used by some XYZ other, programming, because that have acquired a lock before the UiPath can acquire a lock on that. To avoid such scenario, what we can do, how we can deal with this scenario, how will ensure that the UI Excel is not open?
Close the Excel sheet.
And closing is a one example, right? But how will ensure that there is no Excels are open? So we can use a process kill process, right? Yeah, task kill, or task kill you can use in a PowerShell, right? So for that you need to use a PowerShell. Or so we can close this Excel workbook before starting of the process. So let's quickly run it and see what happened. Okay. So look at the error message. This is a common error message that you will get, right? It is failed opening the file name. Possible reason is the file is corrupt, or the file is already used by another process and you don't have permission to open the file. Okay. And when we close that file, and when then run the automation. Other good way to avoid such scenario is using a retry block. And in the retry block, we'll use a try catch statement and we'll catch this particular type of exception, which is here, right? And close the file before running that again. So that I'll showcase you when we move to the advanced or exception handling, part of our course. We can use a retry scope, and in the retry scope, we can retry for 3 times. And if the file is already open, it will close automatically. Okay. So let's run it again. Before running that, I'll put a bookmark again here just to showcase you how the data will look like. So this time we are reading sheet 2, right? That's the reason it's reading information from S to P2. I have shown you start of the demo, right? And then it's keeping header and it's reading A2. And similarly, it will keep going on. Okay. And you can also look at the values, which is here. Right. So column 0, column 1, column 2. A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2. This is how our data table would be. Right. I think it's a pretty easy. Only thing that you need to take care is whenever we use Excel application scope, try to give a output property to it and always close the workbook at the end so that there is no chances of the file corruption. Right? So these are the basic operations that we can perform with Excel. But there are a lot of other things would be required to perform in your automation. Say for example, you get a reconciliation kind of automation, right? Or a filtering or removing duplicate or identifying the unique items and all those kind of things. So how we should be able to perform those tasks? To perform operations on Excel, it's always better to read the data into data table, perform the operation, yeah, how to get an Excel application scope into machine to perform Excel application. That's a pretty simple. I told you that all you need to do is you need to go to the activity pane here and Excel, you need to type Excel application scope. It will come here and you need to drag and drop. So the moment you drag and drop, it will pass you for the workbook path and then you can perform your task, right? Is that the answer you are looking, Harish? Or you have different question?
No, Satish, actually, I don't think that Excel application scope in activities.
Probably because you don't have this UiPath Excel activities by default coming up. So if it is not there, you need to go to manage package and inside the all packages, you can type Excel and then you need to install this. So you can check the dependencies here. This is by default dependency. So whenever you create a new project, Excel will automatically come unless you have removed it. Or maybe you have done some changes into settings. So if that is the case, you can install the UiPath Excel activity. How you can do it? Again, I'll showcase you. Go to manage package, go to all packages, search for Excel. And install it. I already have 2.8.0 preview. I can update it to 11.4, but let's not update. Okay.
Okay, Satish, thanks.
Yeah. So I was discussing that this is pretty simple. Anyone can do it. Reading and writing is pretty simple, right? So take one thing in mind. Whenever you need to perform heavy operations on Excel, like sorting, filtering, merging, joining, all those things, what we need to do is, first thing that we need to do is put the data into data table. So say for example, if you have to work on multiple Excel file, so you read first Excel file, put data into first data table, read second Excel file, put data into a second data table, read third file, put data into third data table. Perform all the required operations on data table. And once you achieve your desired result, write the final data table back to the result Excel. That's how we should perform the task, right? In most of the cases, In some of the cases, we also need to perform tasks on Excel itself, right? But for most of the cases where you need to filter out some data, do some aggregation, calculate the sum of particular column, identify duplicate row, and all those kind of things, those things can be easily done with data table activities. Okay, so let's take example of a banking reconciliation system. So what is happening is, you know uh, multiple files are coming from different source, right? Say for example, Citibank is sending their rates, Morgan Stanley is sending their rates, Wells Fargo is sending their rates, and all of these rates are coming early in the morning to a XYZ bank. And what they need to do is they need to grab all the data from all three different sources, compare them, and if the variance, the difference between the rate from the any sources is greater than 0.5%, we need to report that to business, right? These kind of things, these kinds are actual automation. A lot of people have done this. It's a pretty simple, straightforward, reconciliation stuff where you need to compare values row by row, column by column, or certain columns inside, right? So what you need to do is, task is pretty simple. Read the Excel file which is come from Citibank, put into a Citi data table. Read the data that is coming from Wells Fargo, put into Wells Fargo data table. Read the data which is coming from New York Bank, let's say for example, put into New York data table. And then perform data table operations. So you have lot many data table activities, right? Where you can filter, you can group, you can join. And once you achieve the desired result, put that result into a desired data table itself, and then write that particular data table again back to Excel. So that's how your concept should be. Okay, now let's look at how we can perform certain operations with data table. So that's our next example we have. Should I move to the next data table example, or do you have any other questions to cover? So silence is a golden. Should I move to next?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's quickly jump to our next example, which is data tables. So, and this would be a really interesting session. So you should look at properties, you should look at values, and try to focus on this. Reason being, most of the time you are dealing with these activities inside your UI path when you're performing some manipulations of data, right? So look at the property carefully. If you feel that something is not you are not getting it, feel free to ask me, feel free to stop me, because I want all of you to understand this concept. And the moment you understand this, you should be able to write complex automations as well. Okay. All right. So let's first look at what are the things we have into data table. I don't want to save it. So let's look at build data table. Let's look at the main first. So what I have done here is I have used an activity called generate table. So if you go to the activities, it's generate table from text. What it does is, so if you drag and drop here, it will ask you for the input. Okay. And if you look at how it takes the input, so if you over here, basically, so it will give you what kind of input it will take. So it will take an input of type string. That means whatever the information that you need to provide to this activity has to be in string. And recall from the previous lesson that we should be able to read a text file or a CSV file using a file operation, and the result will be stored in text file. String. Result will be in a string, right? So we can combine those two activities. Say for example, if your data is in a flat file and you want to create a data table for that particular flat file, obviously that flat file should contain columns and rows, type of tabular data. If it is a text, there is no use of doing this, right? But if there is a text file which have some tabular data and you want to convert that text file into a data table, how you should be able to do it. So first thing that you need to do is use a file activity, read text file. The moment you read text file by giving the file name, result will be stored in a string variable, right? That string variable you could pass here, and then you can provide some options. You can provide some options saying what is my format. So format could be CSV if they are comma separated. If they are not comma separated, you can put as custom, or if they having the fixed width column. Some of the files which are generated from mainframe system specifically, right? Mainframe system specifically, they are having fixed width column, right? So in those scenario, we can use this fixed width column. So for we can use a custom now. And then in the column separator, we need to specify what is the separator value. Are they been separated by comma? Are they been separated by semicolon? Are they been separated by some other text delimiters? And so on and so forth, right? So for you can select those values from drop down. So we have space, tab, new line, colon, comma, semicolon, equal signs. Using this column separator, you can use those. And then you need to also tell what is your new line separator. So new line separator is in most of the cases, if that is being system generated, it will be a new line, right? So you can select those. So these are the options available. And once you pass the string, the result will be stored. So let's take example what I'm trying to say here. So say for example, when you read some data, the result, you have a file which contains employee ID, employee name, employee gender. What I have done is I have put that values into a string format. So if you look at this option, how this simple input would be employee ID, employee name, employee gender, and these things. Pretty much explanatory, right? And then I said that use first row as a column header, right? And then in the format I have said it's a custom. It's using column separator as space and new line characters as new line. And then the result will be stored in this will be when I perform this generate table wizard activity, the result of this string will be stored nicely formatted into column values, and result will be stored in a my data table. So let's look at let's talk on a breakpoint and then run this. Okay, so now you can see it's nicely formatted in a data table. It's in data table. Okay, and let's look at the input. So how the input was? Input was, if you look at the quote here, that means it was a string. So we have provided the string values and data is stored here. Now I have used another activity called output data table. Sometime you need to write data table into a flat file for other system to consume. I have seen a scenario where UiPath has been used as an ETL tool, where what they are doing is they are getting the data from multiple sources, combining them into a single source, and then again writing a flat file and putting that into a FTP folder so that other can use it. So it's basically a use of ETL. That's what we perform in a ETL, right? So sending a file as a FTP. So what they are doing is they are using Excel activities. They are performing all of those operations. Then they use output data table, passing the data table variable myDT, and then this will store the data into a flat file, right? And that flat file is being sent using the FTP activity to a different server, right? So let's look at if I do a step in and then what the result will come. So result will be a nicely formatted data table here. Okay, and then we have this clear data table activity. So when we step into, it will clear the data table activities, clear all the data. Okay, so let's step in and then step into closed. Any doubt you have into these three data table activities: generate data table, output data table, and clear data table? Three activities we have completed into this example. Before I move to the next example,
Sir, how to data to Google spreadsheet?
how data will go to Google Spreadsheet? We can
Yes.
say we can send it to Google Spreadsheet. That's not a problem. For that, what we need to do is we need to use other activity, which is responsible for writing a data into Google Spreadsheet, right? So what you can do is you can go to the manage package, and then you can type for the Google, and then there you have Google Cloud Platform activities that will contains it contains GCP storage bucket. I'm not recalling which one is to be used. There are a lot. There are two, three. So I think this one. No, yeah. So what you need to do in those cases, you need to use the activities which are provided by the Google, and the text value that you are getting, you can use a for loop, or you can directly pass that data table as an input to the Google activity, and result will be stored into Google spreadsheet. So we'll look at those examples. We have those, examples in integration services. Well, we'll look at the example how to interact with ServiceNow, how to interact with, you know, uh, uh, other, Salesforce and all those applications, right? So we'll look at some of these examples. So don't worry about it. But on a high level, you need to give the input to the Google spreadsheet activities, and then the result will be stored automatically after the connection has been made. Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, please, Amit.
Can we read data from FTP server?
Directly you cannot directly you cannot read. You need to get that file and and then you need to use read activities like read CSV, read text, and those kind of thing, and then you need to read the data. So you need to use a FTP activity, get that file locally stored into some drive or temporary location, and then read it and then perform operation.
Okay, thank you. And if I want to list file and folder present in that particular FTP location, then also I need to do the same.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So these are the three basic activities we have discussed. Now there's a one problem. This generate data table do not give the require good result every time. Sometime it gives you a false statement and a false result. I have seen that multiple times. This is not very stable activity, and that's the reason I have written on the top it's glitchy, right? I'll showcase you one thing. So look at here. I have given the sample input. I have given the format as custom. I have a column separator space, new line character as separator, but when I preview it, everything is coming as column. Ideally, this Sachin should come here, M and 20 should come here, and all those things. So this is not a foolproof method, but it works. But it works. The better method for this to generate a table is a build a data table. That's a better option. So how we can work with a build a data table example, right? So quickly going back to the presentation, because the reason being I wanted to showcase you here. So we have this we have used. So generate data table builds a new data table from unstructured data, and build data table you need to create and specify what would be the column and rows, right? And this is a better than this generate data table. So that's the difference. Usually people will ask what is the difference between generate data table and build data table, right? So build data table is this one. So again, you need to drop a build data table activity. You need to click on data table and you need to specify all of these things, right? So let's this is already populated. So I just wanted to showcase you how it works. So let's put build data table activity here. You need to click, everything will come as blank. So you need to add it. You need to tell what would be the column name. So let's, for example, employee number is a column name. So you can say employee number. What would be a type? So you can select the type. You can put string, integer, boolean, object, data tables, array, or you can select any other type which is supported by .NET platforms. So there are a lot of data types, but I'll say you try to store them in only primitive data type. When I say primitive data type means default data types like string, boolean, and all those things. Do not try to store objects and all those things because sometimes we have seen performance degradation and the values are getting lost, right? So for those sake of simplicity, we should keep ourselves to boolean, integer, string, and sometime if you have a date time column and all those things, so you can create timestamp and date times kind of column, but try avoid putting other, okay, unless it is really necessary. And then you can select all, allow null. You can put default values if that has to be unique. So when you select allow null and unique, it will become primary key. That's the definition of primary key. So similarly, you should be able to put all this information, right? And the moment you put OK, it will automatically change. And then these are values. So you should be able to create values directly here. So employee number should be a string. So I'll say EMP001. Okay. And then similarly for column 2, you should be able to do change it. Say I say grid. Grid is this. You can also put, if it is an integer, you can also put auto increment. So it will automatically take care of those things. Right. One thing you have noticed, the moment you change the column, your existing data is lost. So always make sure you prepare the data columns first before you put some data. That's the limitation. Okay. So let's look at this example now. So in this example, student ID, integer type, string, student age, and student marks. So that's how we have put the values here. Now the result will be stored into a build data table, that is a variable of data table, right? Again, we are using that output data table so that if you require to generate a text file, you should be able to do it. All you need to do is pass the data table name and then result will be stored into string. And then here you can use a file operation, right? So I'll say, what is the output of this one? Build text dt. Build text dt. Right, and file number is test file. Okay, save it and then run it. I'll run it and I'll showcase you. Let's come to the next part. So then I have also in the last lesson we have also talked about how to get the row count. So there is a method called data table.rows.count that will return the count of rows, and similarly there is a method called columns.count that will return the number of column. Okay, All right. So, and then what about if you want to add the data into existing data table? So there are two ways of doing it. You can pass the data as an array object like this one, or what you can do is you can build a data column by column. So add data row method will be used, and you can pass the entire data set in a one go if you want to hard code the value. Or what you can do is you can create a data row, build data table dot new row, and then assign the values to column by column. So build data row and then the column name value should be this one, name should be this one, student age should be this one, and I have commented out this code. Reason being, this student marks is default. So if you do not pass this value, by default it will be set to the default value that we have specified while building a data table. So default value will be assigned, and then you need to use this add data row. And now instead of passing a default hard coded values or values as array, we are passing the data row. This add data row and this add data row works in the same way. The only difference is the use case, right? Sometime you need to specify the value directly, or sometime you need to perform certain operations, right? Or based on the if else condition, you need to provide different values, right? So if say for example, you need to, let's take a example that we have a column which contains the logical value, right? If the marks is greater than 22, then it should be pass. If marks is greater than 45, it should be third. It should be marks should be greater than 65, it's a second. If it is 85, it's a first. Those kind of things. So those kind of conditions you can build it here, and then you assign the values into column one by one. And then at the end, you use a data row, and then build data row has to be passed, and then keep the name of data table, the result will be stored. Okay, and the record count will be increased. So let's quickly run this. And if you understand this one, you should be able to perform lot many tasks in UiPath. So if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask here. So column count is 4. That's obvious because that's what we created. What is the row count? So we have created initially 6 records. So row count is 6. Now what is the data? So we have this data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So we have 4 columns, 6 rows data. That's how we should be able to display into the message box. Now what we have done is we have used the build data table and we have inserted another data here, which is now 32 now. So now when we run this message box, it will return row count as 7 because it has incremented to one more row. So row count is 7. Now let's move to the next. Once we insert this, all these value, the row count will become 8, right? That's how it is. Any doubt here? And let's look at the file as well. Open the file location. The file that we have created, open with. I forget to give it a name as text, and that's the reason it is problem, but it will write the result in the same way. So this will be the output file. Guys, you able to understand the concept, how to work with data tables, how to add the row column by column, how to write the data table into string, how to write data table into file, right? Any doubt here? Any questions? Guys, you all with me? Or did I log?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Satish, if I want to do multiple operation on after reading this data, so can I put some script, and if I can put that script, it can be in Python or what language I need to use.
What you want
If
to
I
perform, tell me. I'll give you the better example. So once the data is there, what you want to do with that data?
uh, I want to remove duplicate from that, and
You
that duplicate should be.
remove duplicate. We already have activity. I'll showcase you in next example.
That's I want to remove duplicate, but that string which I have in column is not completely duplicate. There is some keyword which is duplicate with the other
All right. So
rows.
what you can do is there are multiple ways of doing it, right? One thing that you can always do is write range. Okay. So there what you can do is you can create an Excel file out of it, the data you have. Okay. Output.xlsx. Oh, sorry. It should be sx, right? And then you have to give the build dt as a example, right? So this, what you can do, you can write the data again into Excel, right? And you should be able to perform other operations using the Excel application as well. Other thing what you can do is if you want to execute a macro to perform, so you should be able to execute a macro as well. Let me look at the macro. Execute a macro. You should be able to execute a macro in the Excel. So I have seen a couple of people, why I'm showing you this example is I have seen a couple of people, what they are doing is once the data is coming from the multiple sources, they are writing that data into a template. So they have already a blank template, right? That contains a macro, that contains a formatting and everything. And data is written into that file using the append range or write range and all those activity. And data will go into that Excel file and then they execute the macro by giving the name. So that's a one way of doing it. Other thing is that you can also write a code, invoke code methods, right? You can write a C# code that we'll see in next, maybe in module number 7 we have that. We can write a Python program, we can write a PowerShell program, we can write a VB script and all those kind of things. That's the other way of doing it. So it's entirely depend on what kind of logic you want to apply, right? In some of the organizations, other programming languages are not allowed inside a UI path, right? So it depends on how you do, right? There are multiple ways of doing the same thing, right? I just wanted to showcase you that what are the options available we have. So other option is invoke code, like this way. So here you can write a code. In the argument, you can pass the data table, perform the operation on that data table, and store the result back to the data table. Okay. So say for example, you can pass a variable here and value will be build dt that we have created here. And then in the code, you can perform whatever operations you want to perform. Those kind of thing for each row and on whatever you want to do. So you should be able to write a C# and VB code here. I
And
hope
how we will include a C# codes library if I'm using Invoke?
how you include a C# library. So using how you write in a code. That's where exactly you need to write. Using systems, using and all those, right?
Yeah, but that should be installed in this is in the machine.
Those
It
are all
has
those are already available, man. The reason being it's a .NET platform. So if you look at all of these are already available. You look at all these spaces are already available. System.data, system.io, system.link, net, and all those things. I don't think we need more than of these. If you require some other DLL, what you can do, you can import that. So you can search and you should be also able to create your own as well. So if you look at these all are available as an imported namespace. So you don't need to even import the system and system activity, system data, system IO. These are by default available. But if you
Thank
need
you so
to,
much.
yeah. And if say, for example, if you need to work with database, yeah, let's take example of this one. It takes a while to load. And it will come up here. So a lot of activities are there. I don't know why it is not coming. Probably, oh, so like this one. So you have all of, lot many things are available here. So you should be able to include and exclude whatever you want. Okay, got me? So we'll come to these things. Don't worry about it. We'll go step by step, right? So now we have built data table. What we have learned today. So we build data table. How we can write that data table into text file. How we should be able to add values. Add rows at one go or column by column, and then writing the result back to a Excel file, right? If anyone having any doubt into this, please let me know before I move to sort, join, and filter condition. So the data would be number of rows are 7, number of rows are 8, and result will be stored. And if this output result will be generated, and it is nicely formatted. 8 rows we have. And again, where goes my header? Header is missing here. Reason being, we need to, in the right range, we need to say add headers. Okay. So when you add right headers, it will add the headers as well. Any doubt into this? All good?
Yeah, we are good.
Okay. So let's move to the next concept, which is merging two data tables. Okay. So let's take example of this one. So we have built a data table here. We have built another data table, right? And then we merge two data tables, and the result will be stored in a data table 3, right? It's a pretty simple example. So all you need to do is, there could be a scenario where you have two Excel files having same column name and same rows, same column name basically, right? And you want to append one after another, right? So you can use the append range in Excel activity. But if the data is used and you want to perform some manipulation before you write them back, you can use build data table, right, activities, or simply read into a data table and then merge two data tables. So let's look at this one. It's the same example, so nothing new here. We'll read the message box just to see what is the data, and then we have another data table which have 2 rows, and then we'll read the data here, and then we merge the data tables. So merge data table takes what will be the destination, and then what will be the source. So it will merge into here, and then we'll output a data table again into a different text file, and then in message we'll print that. So it's a straightforward example, nothing good here. So we'll start reading here. The data we have is same, 4 columns, 6 rows. Now we have another data table, 4 columns, 2 rows. Then we have combined data table which contains 8 rows, 4 columns. I think it's pretty easy. I don't need to explain anything more into this. You understand what is the concept of merge data table, right? All right. So let's move to third example. And this I have already, showcased you, but I wanted to showcase you once again. The reason being, this is a really important. How you read the data column by column using for loop. Okay. So we have used the same build data table here. output would be stored in a build DT4, right? And then we'll print the message box and we'll apply a for loop, okay? So that we can read the value column by column. And if you want to perform some operation, we should be able to do it here, right? This is also pretty easy. So let's me quickly run it. So we have again this data. So it's reading value which is stored at column 0. You can also use column name instead of column index. Okay. So but I'll suggest you to use a number. Number is really good because sometimes I have seen that people are changing column names. There is a white spaces and all those things. So to avoid such thing, spaces and everything, we can use index. That will be a much faster. So it will then again next line and then it will complete. Any doubt in for each row? I have explained you this again, but I'll do one more thing here. So when you do a for each activity, for each row this time, for each row in data table. So this is how it would look like. You need to pass the data table. And then you need to perform the operations here in the body. In body, you can perform anything with the current row. So you should be able to update the value and all those things, right? Copy that value from one data table to another data table, insert into database, or you need to call an API, or whatever you want to perform for each item, you should be able to do inside this, right? So that's pretty easy. Now let's move to the next example, which is sorting. All right. So here what we'll do, we'll sort the data. So we have again same data table, right? But if you look at the student IDs, they are not in a increasing or decreasing on the basis of student ID. They are random. So let's quickly run it. So data here is like this one. Now we are using a sort data table, right? And we are sorting the data on the basis of this one. After sort, data would become like this one. And the result. So this is. Look at the properties of this, how you want to sort it. So you should be able to sort columns on the basis of columns that you can give. Only one column has to be given. You can give either index or either name. And the order we can select ascending and descending. So on the basis of this, we should be able to sort the databases. And right. So now if I use a right range activity, and I'll give a workbook path as sorted result, right? Dot x. Seat name we need to write, and the data table is build data table 5, new, right? And save it and run it. Data before sorting. Sorry, I have given a wrong name here. So that's the reason. Now when I do refresh, the result will be written back to file. In a sorted order. Any doubt here on this? Yeah.
You are giving extension as Excel assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can I give .csv?
Obviously, yes, man. So let's write CSV. Here it is. The only thing is that you need to know the activity name and what has to be passed, right? What input has to be passed. So it takes an input of data tables and include header, instead of coming here, it's coming here. So you can write CSV as using this one. Save it. Let's delete this one. Oh, it is being opened by me. So I need to close this one. Save. Refresh. Okay. Now we have there's many files. So you refresh, there will be a sorted CSV. Oh, I've given file name. I'm really bad at it. So I need to give CSV. Anyways, when you open this as Excel, it will open directly. That's not a problem, but you can give a name. Okay. So let's look at really bad at saving names. Yeah. Got it? Any other doubts? So that's the reason I'm saying you, once you convert your data into data table, you should be able to perform many operations because most of the activities inside the UI path is using data table as an input, right? So you should be able to write into CSV, you should be able to write into a flat text file, you should be able to write into Excel. Similarly, lot of other activities which are being provided by different provider, they also take input as data table, like Google spreadsheet activities, ServiceNow activities, Salesforce activities, right? So you need to play around data table a lot. You need to look at all of the properties, all of the method of data tables, and then you should be able to perform all kind of data manipulation you want to do. And as of now, I am working with only small data tables, right? But working with a large data tables also is pretty easy. And in the same way, you should be able to do it. You can also work on multiple data tables. You can assign the value of one data table to another data table just by assign variable, right? And those kind of thing. So it's pretty easy. Now we have to look at join example, which is example number 5. So let's look at the file first. So this is, we have customer, and then we have another which is order. We have a customer ID and order item, and here is the customer name. Look at this example carefully because most of the time you need to perform a join operation between two spreadsheet or between two Excel files. So if you do not understand anything, feel free to stop me. Okay, right. So what I have done here is, it's a pretty simple. First we need to open Excel, and the do, we need to read a Excel range. I'm reading customers, I'm reading orders, and then this join table activity. So here what I'm doing, we are using data from data table 1, we are using data from data table 2, and the result of these two, whatever the join operation that I perform, will be stored into a third data table. Two data table as an input, one data table as an output, based on the condition of type join type is equal to inner. Column which I am taking consideration here is column from table 1 is column index, and from column table 2 it's a, I have shown this deliberately, reason being I wanted to help you to explain that you can also work on index and column name, right? Once this join wizard will work, it will write a result back into a join result, right? Into a new file, new result, same file. Basically, it's inside the same file, so it will write a result into the same Excel file here. Okay, let's close this and let's run this. And let's look at the result now. So result file is here, result tab is here, and you can see based on the join condition, it has written the data. It has joined this particular and this particular, and whatever the common on the basis of customer ID, it is here. Any doubt on this? How to perform a join operation?
No.
It's pretty simple. And covering the concept of what is inner join, outer join, left join, and all those things, those are beyond the scope of this lesson. So if you want to read more about those types of join, please feel free to refer SQL documentations or UiPath documentation. You should be able to understand what those joins are. But for the sake of simplicity, you can say inner join are done when there is a common column between two data tables, right? And then you can discuss about those things. So result will be stored like this one. Right? Did you notice there is a one column that is redundant into this particular example? This column is redundant, right? Isn't it? It is here, it is here. So how you should be able to remove a column from a data table? That my question is. So for that, we perform remove data table column activities. So I'll press Ctrl D E to enable this activity. So, or you can do is, sorry, enable activity. This activity will be enabled. What I need to remove is remove this particular column name from this data table, and then I need to write a result back. Okay, so let's open this Excel file again. Enable editing. What if something is open on my machine? So it's not allowing me to do that. Okay, and let's run this. Now look at this. Reason being, what we have done is we have not removed this result tab previously, right? So it has overwritten the value what we have on this part, but it has not done anything here. And that's the reason you are seeing this duplicate. So if you remove this particular tab or worksheet and then you try to run again, it will give only the desired result. So here is one more thing that you need to learn. Before writing a data, you need to make sure that you are not overwriting the data. So you need to be careful because Excel will not give any warning to you. Whatever the range you will give, it will override those values. So you have to be careful in this. All right, guys. So this is our example number 5, and then we have example number 6, which is another use case where we need to do a filter operations, right? Filter operations is required when you are performing select a bunch of data from a large pool of data, or you need to perform segregation of a data, putting a small set of data into a different file, perform them, perform multiple operations on data on the basis of filter conditions. In those kind of scenario, filter data table is used. How you need to use? Same concept I have used, a build data table. I have built the data manually here, or you can use a read Excel file or whatsoever. The only thing that you need to take care is you need to pass the input as a data table, and the result will be also stored into a data table. And if you click on configure filter, it will ask you for input data table and output data table, and then you have to filter the rows. In filtering rows, you have two options: keep or remove the matching row. So if you want to keep, you can keep them, or if you want to remove those rows, you should be able to remove those rows. And then you have another option which contains what all columns you need to keep in output. Remember, in the last example, we have to manually remove a duplicate column. Those operations can be able to optimize from here. So you don't need to take care of those things. So for this example, we are passing a DT filter. Output will be DT filter into what we are filtering: student marks, right? Which is less than 35. Okay. And once that is there, we'll write a filter me Excel, and then we'll read data. It's a different example, so I do not want to use this one. And then you should be able to write. Let me disable this. So what you can do is output data table, and let's enable this one just for sake of simplicity. Right. So in the data table, we have initial step, we have multiple rows, but once we filtered, we are seeing only filtered record. Right. Any doubt here on this example?
How to split data in the Excel?
How to? Amar, you please.
Split. How to split data in the Excel sheet?
Sorry, I'm not getting your question. Could you please repeat it?
In the column, there are two names. How to split these names from the different columns?
You can use AND operator. You can give another, or you can change it to OR. You can create whatever the conditions you want to create. So it's totally up to you what logic you want to apply for matching a data or filtering a data. Say for example, you have a big file which contains list of employees in your organization, and you want to filter the records of the employee, those who have joined last 6 months, those who have not attended the security training, those who are absent more than 5 days, right? So you should be able to create a filter on the basis of three conditions. So for creating multiple or composite filter, all you need to do is use a and an or operator, and then the filter conditions like column this should be this one, or it should be greater than equal to, or contains, or do not start with, or doesn't start with, those kind of things. So you have thought of these relational operators, and with the help of these relational operator you should be able to do those things. Right? Got my point? So with this, we are done with the activities required for the data table. We have almost covered all the important activity that we need to cover. Data row, build data table, clear, filter, join, merge, output, remove we have not touched, so you can try removing it. Sort we have already done. So you need to practice all of these data table operations to be comfortable with. And once you are comfortable with all of these data table activities, you are good to work on complex data structure. Right? So with this, we are done with the first session for today. Right? And in the post lunch session, which I'll start somewhere around at 1:45, will that be okay for everyone? Or should we start at 2?
Okay, 1:45 is how many hours from now?
It would be 30 minutes from now.
30 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, in the post lunch session, what we'll do is we'll discuss about the selectors, how we need to identify forms, fields, browser, and what are the concepts which would be required to work with applications. So far whatever we have seen is how to work with Excel, Outlook, data tables, and all those things. Now our real focus would be core RPA, how to interact with application, how to click a button, how to send some input data to the form, those kind of thing. Okay, and once we are done with module number 5 and module number 6, right, tomorrow we should be able to have clear understanding of how we can work with UiPath to get some input, to write some output to Excel file or CSV file or text file, and how to work with the different UI controls. And then we will start working on real use cases. We'll start working on UiPath queues. We'll start working on some different examples. So 2 more lessons would be on these things only, and then use case based scenarios we'll start covering. Yeah, please go ahead, Mamta.
Thank you, sir. Can we add anything in merger sheet? Instead of adding this customer ID or customer order, previous example I'm asking about merging.
I mean, you should be able to add anything. I mean, you should be able to, you should be able to add the columns. But for that, you need to perform some manipulation operations. Add column activities are there. Similar to where we remove the column. If you look at
customer ID, we need to add. Otherwise, in merger sheet we can add.
So see, we have
directly after merging, if I wanted to add something, any column like data, like row.
You should be able to use it. You should be able to use it. What you can do is you can build another table. That table will have one column. Better. So what you can do is, let's take example. You have written a merged Excel file, right? That contains 4 column. Column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And now you want to add an additional column, column number 6 at the end of a file. Okay. So for that, what you need to do? For doing that, what you can do is you can create a build data table activity again. You can create a data table with one column and values, and then you can use a write activity to write at the column number 6, so that that additional column will be written at the line number column number 6. So you can use multiple ways of doing it. It all depends how you want to do it. Okay. Amar, you have a question how to split into other columns, right? So for this, names are to be split into other columns. We can do it easily. There are multiple ways of doing it. So, for that, you need to follow a string operations. So string dot split would be used, and then you need to pass the delimiter, which is opening bracket here, right? And then you should be able to split it. And if you want to put the only numeric values into second column, so for that you can use a regex operation as well. So don't worry about this. We have a full-fledged lesson of regex where we'll perform these things. Where we need to grab some data from PDF, we need to grab some, dollar amount, product quantity, and all those things. So we'll cover these things as well. But to simply answer your query, we should be able to do it using string.split and regex method.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for now. Let's connect in 25 minutes. 1:45, which is 30 minutes from now. Okay. I'll stop sharing. I'll stop recording, and let's connect in 30 minutes.